Alright guys, 2020 was and could possibly still be a pretty big year for Honda because in the beginning of the year they released a model product announcement list, and technically they've already announced the bikes and four-wheelers and buggies in May, but announced them like they're going to continue production. And yeah, we see that four-seater Talon in July, but what we're focused on is that utility four-wheeler coming up in November. We hope to goodness it's not like a RINCON 710 or something ridiculous like that, but maybe we'll get lucky. Because Honda seen where the market was and released the Talons, and later down the road they released the four-seaters. So since Honda's decided to step up their game a little bit in the off-road industry, we're hoping that this four-wheeler will be something good. Y'all know what I mean by that too. It could be the Outlander's competitor and the Sportsman's competitor. So in this video we're going to go over the things Honda should do and must do to pull this off and answer the question, will Honda release a RINCON 1000? Let's get into it.
Three, two, one.
So we'll start this off with the frame, of course. The one shown is Honda's biggest ATV frame, the RINCON 680, which has remained the same for over a decade. But it'd be quite impossible to fit an engine that big into a frame that small, now wouldn't it? What's Honda's solution? Design and produce a brand new frame for this 1000cc motor. Definitely not too big a deal. But that's another thing. What about the motor? Will Honda trim down the Talon motor a bit or just use the 72 horsepower engine off the Pioneer? You wouldn't think Honda would throw out a 72 horsepower 1000cc ATV to compete with the 90 horsepower Can-Ams and Polarises.
Think again.
Honda is known for being reliable and underpowered. The RINCON 680 is the weakest ATV of its other three competitors. Although we'd still never use the 72 horsepower in the trails, it'd still be nice for Honda to meet us in the middle at like 90 horsepower just to keep the competition alive. But don't be too surprised if it's only going to pack 70 horses. Something huge Honda needs to pay attention on is the transmission. The RINCON has the automatic 3-speed transmission, but it's highly unpopular and we have a few complaints for it ourselves because Little Man had a 2012 model a few years ago. He wasn't a very big fan of the transmission. He said he'd have it hooked up to a trailer and he'd go to pull it and it just bogged down. So Honda needs to put in a different transmission, and I wouldn't go with the DCT, believe it or not, because this ATV needs to be intended for work just as much as it is for riding. And the DCT is nice and fancy, but it's hard to beat just a regular 5-speed transmission like what's on the Foreman's. They could still do like Can-Am and add a work mode to help control that power when you're pulling trailers or something with it. And trail riding that thing with the transmission that's on the Foreman, it'd just be like a crotch rocket on dirt. It'd be a blast. But if Honda's going to make a top-of-the-line ATV, they'll probably throw in the DCT with it, so we expect to see that. But along with this big and heavy motor, needs a little something to hopefully soften up the ride, and I'm talking about the suspension. The RINCON 680 comes with independent double wishbones in the front and back. While the front holds 6.9 inches of travel, the back keeps 8 inches into play. Now, this ain't rocket science. When you go to adding weight to a machine, it gets harder and harder for the shocks to support that weight, resulting in a much less comfortable ride, kind of like this. So Honda needs to come out with some long travel, soft, slightly firm, but adjustable shocks. They could throw in all-around dual A-arm suspension with 11 inches in the back and 10 in the front, just as a suggestion. Or hey, if they wanted to get real fancy, they could add some of that Fox live valve stuff and, to our knowledge, have the first full electronically controlled suspension system on an off-road ATV. But that's a real wishful thought of a suggestion right there. But it doesn't take just good suspension to have a comfortable ride. The dimensions must be good as well. No offense, Polaris, but we're definitely not asking for a 55-inch wide ATV, but just asking for more than what's available in a regular size quad, so maybe 50 inches wide, since Little Man has the 48-inch wide Outlander 1000, but still isn't entirely satisfied with it. But under those fenders needs something to help bring it off the ground a bit more. Of course, the all-around arched A-arms we're hoping for will help with this as well. They could go from the 12-inch rims to an oddball 15-inch rim like the Talons. They might as well throw the same tires on there too, and that may bring it to around 13 inches of ground clearance, hopefully. For fuel, they could add another gallon from the RINCON to about 5.5 gallons, because I'm sure she'll be a drinker. But maybe not too bad, who knows. Obviously, it's a utility quad, so it must have true features of a workhorse. Not to seem like I'm asking for a lot, but since Honda has always had good utility machines, the Big Red, I'm kind of hoping for a 250-pound rear and 125-pound front rack capacity. And please leave some good, well thought through strapping points on the racks, and the machine as well in that case. Don't let the Outlander fool you by looking, because we got one and it's sometimes hard to strap something to the racks being confident it won't go anywhere. And for compartments to store stuff, I hope it won't have a compartment in the back barely big enough to fit my daggum fanny pack into. It seems like that's what we've been getting a lot of in the past few years. It seems like storage is getting smaller on utilities, just like sport quad populations, so hashtag save utility storage compartments. Hopefully the compartments are well thought through though, like the strapping points. But the last thing I want to discuss before the main point is the moolah. Honda's current most expensive ATV is the Foreman Rubicon Automatic DCT EPS Deluxe with a base MSRP of $98.99. With all these features and based on the price of the Talons when they were first released, we're looking at least a $14,000 four-wheeler. Now I hope I'm wrong, but Honda always has been on the pricey side. They do take pride in their products, but let's get on to the final word. Will Honda ever release a 1000cc ATV this year rather than a silly Foreman 560 or another random engine size added to their current lineup? The chances are low, but definitely not zero. Honda was a long wait when the Talons came out, and 1000cc ATVs have been out for a while now and are just getting to have better features and more purchases every year, so maybe Honda will surprise us with this RINCON 1000. Or they'll perform reverse psychology and release an upgraded TRX 450ER, just tricking us into thinking it was going to be utility. Few people on this lovely planet know for sure, but let us know what you think in the comments and what you would like to see if Honda released this four-wheeler we speak of in this video. I guess we'll find out when the time comes. Y'all stay safe and I'll catch you on the next one.